Hello, fellow Earthlings. Today I am in Narnia for today's tree talk therapy. The tree that we have chosen to see today is... I should have done my research and searched up what kind of tree this is. I'm going to find out and then insert it here. Let's seek some wisdom from the trees. Or just vent to the tree, you know. I've been feeling really heavy, honestly, the last few months. It's been a lot of different emotions. I feel like I fluctuate between the extremes of like every single emotion on the spectrum. I've been feeling grief the heaviest. My heart has never hurt as much as it has these last few months. It just feels like this huge weight. But you know what I found to be really interesting is that my capacity to feel such a depth of one emotion allows me to feel such a depth of the opposite emotion, you know? So like for this case, I am feeling so much grief and ache right now and these last few months, but I've also opened up a doorway to experiencing so much love, like to a capacity I've truly never felt before. And I noticed that with like all the different emotions on the spectrum, it's like your ability to feel any one emotion so deeply, like in some odd way, it allows you to feel the opposite emotion just as deeply. And it's really beautiful, honestly, because it's like, isn't that what it means to be human? To feel so much, to feel it all. So to give some context, my dad found out that he was in his last stage of cancer a year and a half ago, or a little more than a year and a half ago. And it's not until the last several months that his body has really been shutting down. And it's been really hard to watch. It's been really hard to watch him fade away physically, mentally, emotionally. Most especially because we've never had a close relationship at all. And there's some things that I don't feel like explaining too much into just because it is like personal family stuff, but I was taking care of him the past few months, and that was the most time that I have ever spent with my dad ever, like in my entire life, because I was seeing him every day. I was going to his home every day. And even when he did live with my family and I, when I was younger, I still rarely ever saw him just because he was out most of the time, like either working or there was always just like fights. And whenever there would be like fighting, he would usually leave and like not come back for a while. It was really interesting, like just spending that much time with him and like actually forming memories with him, like forming a relationship with him, and actually getting to know him as a person. For so long, I realized I carried this narrative of my dad that he's just a bad person because there's a dog running around. But yeah, you know, he's someone who has always made me feel really unsafe and someone that I fear and someone I can't be myself around at all. And while yes, it's definitely true, there are like experiences that has like led me to feeling that way, because of just the amount of like pain and resentment that I had towards him all these years. It didn't allow me to appreciate and cherish the really beautiful and wholesome qualities about him as well. I feel like it blinded my ability to see him as a multi-dimensional human being, as we all are. You know, we're not just this or that, and none of us are perfect. You know, we are trying to do the best we can with all that we know how to, and that was one of the things that really hit me and made me feel really, really sad. I was reflecting on my past memories with him, and I could barely remember like anything, honestly. After my parents divorced, there was like an agreement that me and him would see each other like once a week or once every 2 weeks, and I remember every time I saw him, I was just so annoyed and unhappy and ungrateful to be in the same space with him. I did not want to be with him. I did not want to be anywhere near him. What I do remember is that like when we would get together, he would usually take me to the movies. Like that was, I guess, like our thing kind of. I was filled with so much angst and frustration and resentment and confusion. I didn't know how to navigate that. I didn't know how to express these feelings towards him. But I didn't realize that my dad was actually just trying to love me in the only way that he knew how to, you know, because taking me, like at the movies, you don't have to talk or anything, you know, it's you just share silence together and watch a piece of art. And you know, when I'm reflecting back on it, I didn't realize like that's actually so beautiful and that's so touching that like he tried in his own way, you know. It wasn't in the way, he wasn't able to give me the love and support that I needed because he really didn't know how to. He didn't know how to give that to himself, so of course he couldn't give that to me. I was just so angry that like he couldn't fulfill that like emptiness that I so deeply craved, like just to be accepted and loved. Again, even though it wasn't in the way that I most needed at the time, he still tried. He really tried. That's like one of the big themes of my life lately is forgiveness. And forgiveness for myself too, you know. I was just a child. I was also doing my best with all that I knew how to. Of course I was going to be so angry and resentful towards him because there was just a lot of chaos that was honestly inflicted by him. I also had to forgive my mom for a lot of things because I know that, you know, again, she was also doing the best that she could with all that she knew how to, but there was a lot of the reason why that I felt such a negative and closed-minded way about my dad is because she pushed a lot of that narrative onto me, and like at a really young age, and I like became like her emotional support system, and I was the one that like had to emotionally regulate her whenever things got intense. And I didn't realize how much that affected me, like seriously how much that affected me until recently. It made sense why there would be random spurts of like just pettiness and passive aggressiveness towards my mom when I didn't even know where it was coming from, and it was definitely that. And yeah, so I just had to forgive her for a lot of that, like, and realizing she's so human. Obviously, if she knew how to emotionally regulate herself, she would have done it, but she didn't know how to. Her parents never taught her, like, there were never examples of that in her life. Yeah, and I feel like having that compassion towards myself, like, just naturally allows me to have compassion towards other people. And another thing I wanted to touch upon was, like, unconditional acceptance. That has been a really big theme. I feel like that's always just going to be a really big theme throughout this entire life. when I was in the hospital with my dad, I was taking care of him, and there was this one moment when I was cleaning him up. I don't know, I was just like giving him a little head massage and just cleaning his face and his arms, because when you're in the hospital, it's hard, you can't, it's not like you're gonna shower or anything, so I was just wiping him down, and he started to cry. It really broke my heart in that moment, because I just saw this scared boy. I just saw this scared little boy who just wanted so badly to be loved. I saw so much of my inner child when his inner child came out, and I just wanted to pour so much love, show him what it's like to receive just such tender, kind love, that love like this can exist. And because he's never received that in his life either. He's never had that motherly love or anything like that. And it definitely felt paradoxical in a way for the child to be healing your parents' inner child wound, but in that moment it just felt so natural and so right, honestly, in all moments, because I realized, I know how to give this love to myself. I know how to cultivate it. I know what it's like to receive this unconditional love and unconditional acceptance, and I'm going to show that and give that to my parents, because they've never experienced that, and show them that it is possible that they can be so loved and so accepted in all their states just as they are, that they don't need to change anything about them. And it was definitely really hard to apply that same that depth of acceptance in moments when he was triggering me big time, or just not speaking to me kindly, or screaming at me. But in my head, I would communicate with his soul. I would be like, Dad, I accept you, even in this moment when you're not speaking so kindly to me. I accept you. And I noticed that when I do that mentally, he actually stops. It's like he catches himself, he hears himself or something, and he still will go on, but he stops raising his voice at me, and it gets a little quiet, and doesn't feel the need to continue maybe as much as he would have had I not done that. Just a little whisper to his soul. And I think the reason why that happens is because he, on a soul level, he felt so safe, he felt so loved. All of him is worthy, even in moments when he's making mistakes, or I thought for a really long time that I could only accept and love my parents if they changed themselves, if they were able to start thinking more like me, or start behaving a certain way, in a way that I would appreciate. And I realized, I would not want my parents to only I wouldn't want my parents to feel like they can only accept and love me once I've changed a certain part of myself. Once I did this, or once I was more like this, or once I dressed a certain way. I would want them to love me just as I am, and so being able to give that to them, it's giving them permission that it's oh yeah, this is possible. I can also love my own children without needing to change anything about them. And I feel it's gotten I've seen a lot of glimmers of that as I've done that for them, and it's it's been really healing, and I know that there's a lot that like doesn't show externally, but like on an energetic level, I feel it. I really do. I feel the generational cycles of trauma breaking. It's there's still so much hurt, but there's also so much love coming out of all of this. There was like a lot of like family drama stuff that was going on, and even in that moment, like just accepting that, like, okay, yeah, like this is something I'm experiencing as a part of my reality right now, and it's a lot. It's kind of funny. If you're able to like find some comicalness in it, then I feel like that's kind of healthy. Obviously staying grounded enough to like do what you need to do in order to have the necessary conversations and mature conversations. But I don't know, just remember that like sometimes like this stuff it's a bit silly sometimes, but all of it is just revealing a way that we can love ourselves and each other more, right? So I feel like that helps me remember, like, you know what, like this is creating the situation, this drama is creating a lot of separation between us, and this is just a way that we can connect even deeper by listening to each other, by communicating, and that it doesn't have to be all or nothing, you know? For anyone who is holding on to a lot of things from the past, you know, whether it be mistakes or just things that they felt they could have done better, or things that they felt other people could have done better, just know that like we really are all trying our best with all that we know how to. And I mean, obviously there are cases where some people do know better, you know, but for the most part we're all just trying to learn and figure it out. And this life is so fragile. Like everything in this life is so temporary. Everything goes, and like at one point everyone and everything inevitably goes. Instead of, I guess, like worrying about how we can prevent that, because you can't, that's out of our control. The only thing that you can do is just be present right here and right now. Be in the moment. Just be here. Just show the people in your life that you love them, tell them that you love them, and also show it through your actions. It won't always be easy, you know, depending on like just the dynamics of your relationship with certain people, but just know that when you fight with love, you can never lose. You can never lose. Thank you for receiving me just as I am. And I love you so much. I really do. I love you so much. I'm gonna go hug this tree one more time and go hug a few other trees around this forest. And I hope that you can do the same. I know it might feel a little awkward at first, but trust me, once you just surrender into it, once you embrace it, it feels really good. You really do feel the love. And the trees need it too. They want to be hugged.